welcome to Turn the Page, the official podcast of the Syosset Public Library.
Hi, welcome to Syosset Library's Turn the Page podcast. I'm your host, Jessica, and I am here with Seth Voorhees, who is my guest today. And tell us a little bit about yourself and about what you write, because I have read the first chapter of Immune, Rise of the Inflicted, which was very good. But yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, my name's Seth Voorhees, like you mentioned, and yes, Voorhees, like Friday the 13th,
It's
Jason, it's perfectly fine.
you can't get away from it. And
Right?
I would imagine you get that question a lot.
All the time, I like to have fun and say he's my cousin, and we like to have fun on Friday the 13th. It's his birthday, and I send him cards like I miss our days at the lake and things like that. But yeah, so I live in South Dakota. I am a dark fiction author. I've lived in South Dakota my whole life. Went to Black Hills State University, got my degrees there. I've lived in multiple towns throughout South Dakota for work related. So my field is mainly been adolescent development, 10 through 19, just working with whether it be mental health, a counselor. I've sometimes done education work. Like right now, I currently work for a nonprofit where I do similar, it's more grant curriculum, evidence based curriculums that I go and serve the youth. But anyway, I use a lot of that to tailor my characters when I'm able to. Other times, it's just personal life experiences, or I just make stuff up because that's how we authors are. We got to make up things too. But yes, a dark fiction author. I have 4 novels currently. Immune is one of them, like you mentioned. The other ones are Question 17, The Interim, and Midglow. So, and I love to fish, and I'm glad the weather's warming up because it's finally getting to fishing season. But I don't know what it's like where you're from, but in South Dakota, April is a very up and down month. It's snowing one day and then 90 degrees the next. So
Yeah, we don't so much, it's not so much with the snow, but the weather is just all over the place. But no, I actually, it was funny because I was going to ask you how like your location and your career informs your writing and just really like when you started writing dark fiction and how you decided like this is a thing I'm going to start doing.
yeah. Well, it started when I was really young. I have kind of an interesting story, or at least I find it interesting because I find myself to be the most fascinating person on the world, like we all do. So my journey started when I was really young, and remember Goosebumps. For those who remember, Goosebumps were huge, and I read them all the time, and that got me really into that field, and then or genre, sorry. And then once I got older, of course, you get to Stephen King and Dean Koontz, but Goosebumps was the first, and then so in high school I actually wrote my first short novel and completed it. It was called The Chronicles of Clark, and I was really excited when I got that accomplished. And at that point, I was debating about doing writing for a living, but then I went to college, found my love in sociology and psychology, and I took a break from writing for a little while. And then it wasn't until I was in my 30s that I really took writing more seriously and was like, I really would like to get a book published. That would be my goal. And I, of course, had to relearn everything I had learned about the craft. I had to relearn everything, which was fun. It's made the journey more interesting. But yeah, absolutely. I use my experience mainly to tailor my main characters in their journey. So for like a good example would be Wyatt in Immune that you had mentioned. He's a very spiritual person, just like I am. I'm a very spiritual person, and I loved the aspect of finding hope through challenging circumstances and how Wyatt would have to do that throughout the book. Like how to continue that positivity and hope while, the world's falling apart around you. And, I've always found those kind of journeys interesting and fascinating. Yeah.
So Immune is about a virus.
Yes, yes. The pandemic narrative. It
Yes.
had this is actually the second edition that just came out in 2025. The first edition kind of had bad timing. It came out December of 2019, right before COVID hit. So it had a little trouble with the sales because people didn't want to read about pandemics at that time, which I understand. Then I wound up getting the rights back because me and the publisher I just got the contract was done and I wanted to republish it. So I went through it again, changed not a lot of changes, but some tweaks here and there, and decided to republish it. So yes, the second edition is out, and it's not a full pandemic narrative. There's a lot of twists and turns to the story. There's a little bit of zombies, so it's a little bit of a zombie narrative, but the zombie part is only a little portion of the book. What really gets interesting is they come out of the zombie phase, and that group, they call themselves the Inflicted, and they start taking over the world kind of in their own image, recreating it, and they go to war with the Immune, which is the group that was obviously immune to the virus. That's why they're called that. And so there's a lot of just struggles and back and forth between the groups and the classes, and just yeah. That's so it's more than just a pandemic narrative. I take on more of the societal issues and a lot of other concepts.
So I think that like one of the things that's interesting about like stories like that, and I would imagine this is part of it, is that like for me when I'm reading a story like that, like the zombie part is not really what strikes me, although it definitely is a crowd pleaser and people like to read about,
I
what, but I like the people aspect of it is always
mm-hmm,
what, and the socio-political and like just the way
right.
that people behave is really what always grabs me about that type of story. Did you find, and you had mentioned you reworked it a bit since
Yes.
2019, did you find that a lot of your feelings about certain reactions changed?
I wouldn't say they changed, but I will tell you. So when I did the first draft, it wasn't back in 2000. Well, it would have been 18 at the time. It wasn't nearly as long as I kind of wanted it to be. It was almost like novella size. And there are a few characters that I wanted to delve deeper into. And one of the secondary characters is named Helen Olsen, and she's part of the Inflicted. And I really, when you read the book, you can tell I kind of fell in love with her character. So she, not to give too much away, but she rises through the ranks. She eventually becomes the direct. Spoiler alert! I know you said you're reading it, so sorry. But she becomes the director of the new agency, which replaces the CIA. And her partner is one of the members of the Immune, and they have to spend a lot of time in the book, kind of going back and forth with hiding each other while having to, play their roles in society. And that really made her character far more interesting, made the story more interesting because, like you said, it brought more of a human element to it, and that she had a lot of conflict and a lot of arguments and conversations with her work in order to have to succeed for one, but then also have to keep her partner secret because she obviously didn't want her partner to get die or go into the I don't want to give too much away, but go into the areas where they sent the Immune. That's all I'm going to say with that.
Are your stories, do you go character first or setting first?
I am usually a scene and setting generally. So I'm sure you've heard people say you're either a plotter or you're a pantser. And I'm definitely a pantser, so I write off the seat of my pants. So generally, yeah, I usually have a scene in my head, and then I start with, what it looks like, what the scene looks like, and then I just plop the character in generally. And then whatever happens, whatever action's going on, I stick with it. And then during those times between writing sessions, when I'm just like on a walk or at work or whatever happens next will come to me. And if it doesn't come to me, then I figure the story wasn't that good. But yes, that's basically how I am. And if something really good just hits me, it usually stays with me until the next day. So I mean, I take notes here and there, but yeah, I'm definitely scene first, then the character comes in, and then the character drives the story, and then the scene setting might come with it. And it might go back and forth after that, but the original is always the scene. I think the Moon, the very first scene was, I believe it was just, well, it's the first chapter you read, really. That was the whole premise. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
no,
don't want to give away too much because I want people
yeah,
to.
don't, not to the listeners,
Right. Well,
but
buy it and find out. But definitely that first chapter was, yeah.
yeah, I mean, one of the things, that I like is that you get a lot about Wyatt from that first scene. Like
Hmm.
you learn a lot about him in the beginning of it. And you know, like you know that he's not in the best situation, or he doesn't know because he's not sure whether or not he is you know, he's infected.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not going to give away the end of the chapter. You'll have
Mhm.
to find out.
Yeah,
But
of course.
it was a really, you know, it was a really good just introduction to the world and the character. You really just felt like dropped in there.
Right.
So I would imagine though that if you are, and it's so funny because I always like the term discovery writer a little bit more than
Okay.
pantser.
I've
Just
never
be,
heard that one.
yeah, because like I feel, or I like to say MacGyver writer because it's like you're putting your
Ooh.
characters in situations and you don't know, you know, with like,
Yeah.
yeah, but
Ever right. I'm gonna have to remember that.
please do feel
Ever writer.
free.
I like that.
It's
Can I use that
fun.
in another podcast? Be like, I'm a MacGyver writer. Ooh, I like that. Okay.
It's fun, right? It's like a thing.
Yeah, that's more fun.
Thing to think about. Like, you know, you're putting them in situations and they have to solve them with a toothpick and a rubber band, but not
Right.
really. But you know, that idea. But you know, I think like one of the things that's fun about it and talking to authors who write that way is, you know, like hearing like what surprised them while they were
Right.
writing. And, you know, like you don't have to give away too much, but I am curious if you had one of those moments where you really thought that the story was going in one direction and it completely sort of veered off into a different one.
Oh, absolutely. So when I first started it, I don't remember the exact number now, but I remember reading about like the stages of infection. I forget what the stages are now because it's been years, but there was like 4 or 5 stages. And I was going to write the book through each one of those stages. So like the first stage of infection, what's going on in it, how it affects the characters and so forth and so forth. And so that was going to originally be it, but I found it was too difficult and I didn't like the way the story was going. And eventually, as I had mentioned, the characters kind of took over and it went to different directions and I just kind of scrapped the idea. But that was the original point or original premise I was going to do. I don't remember the actual stages now, but yeah, there's like 4 or 5 stages of infection.
What are some of, I mean, you mentioned Goosebumps, but are there other things that sort of, I don't want to say informed your writing, but sort of inspired you to start?
Goosebumps. Yep, I did mention that, and then also too. So I don't remember if it was what grade it was, but it was, like elementary, probably maybe middle school. We had a few writing assignments that I really enjoyed, and then we built a class project, and it was the whole grade had to come up with like poems or stories or something to put in it. And I still have it. It's in my office here somewhere amongst the books and shelves. And I remember writing a really neat poem for it. It was kind of dark, actually. When I look back at my age, I'm like, that was kind of dark for that age. You can tell I read Goosebumps. But anyway, and when I was able to open that book and see my name in it, I think that inspired me too. I'm like, it's really cool to have your name on something. It's cool to have something you created, even if, at that young age. It inspired me. Yeah. So definitely that. And then my mom, of course, she's always, always supports me and tells me to do things, achieve my dreams.
That's awesome. Does she read your books?
No, so unfortunately, that is the one drawback about being a dark fiction horror author. I'm not gonna lie, my family and a lot of people I know really aren't interested in it. They're supportive, like they want me to succeed and everything, but yeah, no, they don't read my stuff. It's too dark for them. No, if I wrote like romance, maybe some mystery thriller romances, then probably they would read some, but no, fortunately, which is fine. Yeah, they at least support me. They send links if I send them, and they watch the podcast. So they share what I'll tell them to share. So yeah.
Um, so do you have a favorite character like within all of your writing, or is it really just too difficult to choose?
Oh no, no, no. I would say, well, I just mentioned Helen, so I'm not going to give too much with her, but Helen was a great one in Immune, and you'll tell really quickly that I did fall in love with her. And then in other books, oh my goodness, yes. So let's see. In the interim, well, the protagonist in the interim, his name's Leopold. I really liked that character. And then, I mean, in Midglow, I really enjoyed the character Philip, and then well, I liked his. I kind of like all my characters, to be honest. If I'd say Helen, if I have to pick one that I've loved the most out of all of them, it'd be Helen.
I think like one thing that also has been sort of thriving after the pandemic, and I can't believe we're like 6 years out at this
Oh,
point.
I know, right?
It feels very weird to me to even say that because I feel like
Uh,
it just happened. But it's so interesting because I feel like dark fiction and horror really began to thrive after that.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, Out of curiosity, do you, as a writer of that genre, have any thoughts as to why that might be?
You know, that's a great question. I've never really fully thought about it. I think part of it is just because it's better to read stuff that you know is not going to happen, even though it scares you. It's like more of a good scare. We kind of need that physical reaction of being frightened or worried or happy or get excited and knowing that it's fake and it's not going to really hurt us. I think it's a great escape. And it makes us maybe think, okay, yeah, the world's kind of creepy, but at least it's not what I'm reading creepy. It's not this in the book. This is way worse. So, maybe it brings us back to reality, brings us back to what we need. For me, I think it's just a good escape from what's going on in the world. That's really a big thing for me. We have a book club at work, and one of the rules when we started it, one of the rules I suggested was I said, let's not read any books that's related to what we do for a living. Let's find books that actually can get us out of whatever's going on. Because at the time, I was a supervisor at a residential center. So I was essential staff. There was none of the quarantine at home and any of that. So I had to go to work every day and really had to deal with a lot. So reading for me, I think that was it. It was just a great escape. Yeah. And I think the world's just being more accepting of it too. We
Do,
saw that in the Academy Awards. I mean, that was the most horror had ever been recognized this year at the Academy Awards.
yeah, no, that is true. Do you read then, like with your book club, do you read in that genre or do you read outside of it?
There's about two of us that really like that genre. Otherwise, everyone else, no. Everyone else is more into like mysteries and thrill, which those are fun too. I'm not saying, I read the occasional mystery here and there. I don't mind mystery. I don't have that brain that can retain the stuff where like there's this little clue on page 5 and then it gets reintroduced on page 320 and your brain goes, oh my gosh, I remember I read about da 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 da. My brain doesn't work that way. So as much as I love mystery, I I have to be picky with my mysteries. But no, there's a few people that like the horror though, so we communicate, the three of us, we talk a lot.
Are you working on anything at the moment?
I am. I have multiple projects going on right now. I have one that's in the editorial process right now. I'm hoping it'll be done by the end of the year. I'm hoping, if not, definitely by 27. I'm hoping. So, or sometime in the middle of 27. But yes, that one I would say is more horror related, though. There's a little bit of mystery involved. I tried to do my best with mystery, but like I said, my brain doesn't love all of that so much. But I also enjoy I just really enjoy the characters in it and the new creation of the worlds. This one's a little more based on family dynamic. There's a lot more family involved. The main character, whose name is Eugene, there's his father and his grandfather, and there's a lot more of that exploration of just men and that relationship. And that was kind of interesting because I'd never really done that before.
Did you use any of your own family in that?
Not completely. I think I put a little more into, so growing up, so my father was absent in my life. So I was raised by a single mother. So I probably did put a little bit of that in it just the absence. So I did make his character maybe a little absence from his father. And so I did put that a little bit in there, but not a whole lot of family dynamic. I should. Everyone tells me to. I have enough family situations. I could write a good book on it.
But
We
that's the
all
thing,
do.
yeah, like that's the thing. Like for some people, that's an escape. And for other people, you're like, it's just, that's just not
Yeah.
necessarily the direction I
Hmm.
want to write in, or the story just doesn't take that direction.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, So that'll be done in 27.
Positive vibes.
Positive
Send out the
vibes.
positive
Yes.
vibes.
Well, before we go, is there anything that you would recommend reading that you've read recently?
Oh my goodness, I read so much. So, well, I'm a big fan for people who like the genre I like. I am a big fan of Jennifer McMahon. She has some great books like The Winter People, The Night Sister, The Invited. She's really great. I love her work. Darcy Coast, we know her work. I really enjoy history books though as well. So as much as I read horror and the dark fiction, I read a lot of nonfiction as well. Um, oh my goodness, there was anything about nautical, or I think it's what it would be like Arctic exploration. Those kind of stories. I really enjoy those. I was trying to think of the one. It was called The Wager. I can't, for the love of me, cannot remember the author's name, so I apologize. But it's called The Wager. That was a really great book. I recommend that. Oh yeah, so many. The new book called The Devils just came out. That was a really good book. Oh my goodness, I'm terrible with authors' names, so I deeply apologize to all authors who I am not saying the
The
book.
Wager was David Grann, by the
Thank
way.
you. Yeah, I have it in my
Yes.
bookshelf, so I was looking for it. I was like, where is that book? Another one is Red Rabbit too by Alex. I think it's like Gregian, Gregian maybe. It's Grecian. That was a really good book because that mixed Western with horror. Oh, and I loved it so much. I love Westerns. I really do. I love good Western books. I should write about Western. I haven't yet. For how much I love it, it's surprising that I haven't.
It probably just has to be that like you have to find the right story, especially if
Oh,
you're a
absolutely.
discovery writer. You
Yep,
have to get that scene and you have to be like, well, what's going on there? So,
absolutely. It has to just come. Yep. I don't like to write a story just for writing the story. You're right. Because if you're forced to write something that just comes out flat and probably not that interesting.
well, thank you so much for chatting with us. If people would like to find your books, where should they look and tell them about where they can find more information about you?
Okay, well, you can always get them online. So Amazon, any online bookstore, Barnes and Noble, Books a Million, Book and Mortar, all of your favorite online. I mean, and just go to your local bookstore too and order them. If they're not on the shelf, I always encourage you to tell them to order them. They're any bookstore can carry them, so just spread the word. There's my website, Seth T. Voorhees. It's all one word. .com. You can go there for more information and some other podcasts that I've been on, so you can listen to me chat and ramble. And let's see. So yeah, and then I am on social media, unfortunately, but we have to. It's kind of a necessary evil. I am author Voorhees on TikTok, then author Voorhees on Instagram. I'm not gonna lie to you, our family rabbit named Snowball has kind of taken over the accounts, so you might not see a lot of my books. You're just gonna see Snowball
I'm
emailing
not going to complain.
being
I mean,
cute.
I'm not going to
So
complain about Snowball. He probably is very cute.
he's very cute. He's very cute, very adorable. He's a cantankerous bunny. That's what I like to call him.
Does he? And it's so funny. I literally last night just found out like that thing that rabbits do when they jump is called bunkying. Like when
Yes.
they're happy. I had no idea. I was like, that is even more adorable.
Yeah, they do that all the time. Yeah, they do it when they're happy. Yeah.
Yes.
I've heard blinkies too. I've heard them called blinkies. I've heard both.
Oh, okay.
Bunkies and blinkies. So I don't know.
Bunkies and blinkies.
Which one is correct? I'm not sure, but it's both. Yeah, he's interesting. Yeah. Rabbits are they're moody too. They have a lot of personality.
Yeah, people don't realize that for
They
sure.
do. They are very cantankerous. One day they love you. Well, they always love you. It's kind of like a cat. There's going to be days where or moments where they're very indifferent and they're like, just go away. I don't want you around. And then they'll love you for like 10 minutes and they're like, give me attention. Just give me nonstop attention.
So check out Seth's social media where you will find some of his books and also his rabbit, which is probably super, super fun to watch as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you so much. This was Jessica with Syosset Libraries Turn the Page podcast, and we are going to close this chapter.
It's time to close this chapter of Turn the Page. Join us for the next episode.